Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we are going to react to the dirtiest player in NFL history. Now, the NFL, everybody knows, or at least people who watch the NFL, it is probably one of the most physically demanding sports in the world in terms of the contact level. You know, you have to be strong to survive playing in the NFL. And in such a game, there's going to be people that are going to look for ways to find an advantage, ways that like to find an edge. Some of those ways are going to be legal according to the current rule set. Some are not, but if they can get away with it, they're going to keep on going. So this guy, I'm guessing he just didn't care about the rules. He was just going to do whatever it took to win. Like, even if he had to be dirty along the way. And I'm eager to find out just how dirty this guy was. Like, what did he actually get up to?
Recently, I stumbled onto Reddit and found a thread titled Most Disrespectful and Humiliating Plays in NFL History. And the author of the thread had already listed some examples. Adrian Peterson running over William Gay. This dude getting stiff-armed by Russell Wilson, and Dante Hall with possibly the nastiest juke of all time. These are disrespectful and humiliating, sure, but if you want to talk about acts that are more than just big hits or sick jukes, I'm talking cheap shots, or worse, just complete dark acts of violence. You slowly make your way to story after story involving Bill Romanowski.
In his book, Romo, My Life on the Edge, Romanowski writes about a playoff game against the Giants, where he found himself buried with running back Dave Meggett.
I'm pissed, and I'm down there just trying to rip that ball out of his hands. And all I could get was a finger. And at that time, I thought it was his, but just whatever it was, I just snapped it. And I could hear a scream at the bottom of the pile.
Oh my God.
You broke his finger and you thought to yourself, good. He's not going to be so effective anymore.
At that time, yes.
Man, that's cold.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Jeez, man.
They get to play football in the National Football. They're getting paid millions of dollars. Pay me a stick of bubble gum. Cut off my arm right now. I'm in. Go. I'm in. Count me in. I'm going.
He loved it.
Bill Romanowski was fresh out of Boston College after a storied 4-year career, and the 49ers took him in the 3rd round of the 1988 NFL Draft. This ESPN article titled Cracked Code went into investigating what started turning Romo into the monster he became, and he mentioned this story while going through his rookie season. During a game against Oakland, Ethan Horton pushed Romanowski in the back and the young linebacker didn't retaliate. The next day at a film session, future Hall of Fame safety Ronnie Lott shut off the projector, turned on the lights, and punked Romanowski for allowing himself to get punked. This is a game about respect, Lott said. If you let someone do that again, I'll come after you myself.
Wow, so that's what planted the seed, I'm guessing. The seed of no one's gonna get me,
Ronnie Lott, the man who got his finger amputated so he could keep playing, when he gives you advice, at least in the world of professional football, you listen,
you take it,
and Romo took this to heart. That team won 2 Super Bowls by his 3rd season, but people started to become aware of how he developed his game. He played with a style that made people hate him. He was the kind of guy who couldn't turn off the intensity, even in practice.
You broke an unwritten rule, probably an unwritten rule of the entire NFL. You hit Jerry Rice as hard as you possibly could.
In practice?
Your own teammate.
Nah.
That one was an accident. That was one where I was engaged with a blocker. He came around on a reverse. I came off the blocker, stuck my arm out, and boom, nailed Jerry right to the ground.
Why would you do that? Jerry Rice is like one of the best players of all time in my limited knowledge, and he's on your team. I don't understand why you would do that.
Getting in a fight with him.
He came after me.
Of course
This
he
man
would.
did not care who you were. He was going to come after you.
Why would you do that? Do you agree with that? Let me know what you think.
There's this weird time in Romo's career that would get overlooked if it wasn't for a single incident. He played for the Eagles for 2 seasons, and in the midst of his second year, Romo was ejected from a game for kicking an opponent 5 times in the head. This was the first major incident that began shaping his legacy. 2 years later, in a preseason game, he shattered the jaw of quarterback Kerry Collins. That cost him a $20,000 fine. Just weeks later, Romanowski would become one of the most hated players in the league after this happened on national television. Monday Night Football.
Here's play before. That's J.J. Stokes, I think, talking to Bill Romanowski. Ooh, and there's a real lack of social graces on the part of Romanowski.
That's disgusting, man. I'm sorry. Like, that kind of spitting? Nah, come on.
This was crossing the line. This was something that even his own teammate Shannon Sharpe did not take too kindly.
Nah.
I was upset at Romanowski, not because he was white and spit in a black guy's face, because he disrespected another man. And I couldn't condone what he did simply because he was my teammate. If my brother's wrong, he's wrong. I'm mad enough to tell him he's wrong. And that's what I did. I was mad enough to tell Bill Romanowski he was wrong.
These two got over their differences and were critical pieces in 2 Super Bowl victories. The show Undisputed has even brought Romo on as a guest a few times. On one of the episodes that Bill was featured on, him and Shannon talked about how they overcame their differences to win a Super Bowl. They came together as a team, and at the end of the day, Romo was a great teammate. As the old quote goes, you love him when he's on your side, but you hate his guts when you gotta go against him.
To be honest, I do like those kind of players. The ones that the warrior players that would do anything for your team, but the opposition despise because you know it's going to be a long day.
Shannon learned this lesson all too well when Romo moved on to play for Oakland. That's when they had to go head to head. Hooked Shannon's arm.
Yeah, and landed on it. That could have broke.
Luckily, he didn't break it, but it still dislocated his elbow. From 1995 to 2002, the list of fines and altercations that Romo had been a part of was staggering. So here's another interview from a few years back that's from Colin Cowherd's show. And this is what I found incredibly weird. Romo starts to explain this concept.
You know, tell the guys he's a something a-hole. And
an hour later, you're having a beer.
An hour later, you're having a beer and you kind of move on. You know, and that's the one thing about the locker room that's really special is to be able to do that. Some guys hang on onto it. Some do. But for me, I didn't hang on to it because I was usually the one dishing it out. And I would feel badly about it. And I had no problem apologizing.
He at least sounds self-conscious enough to understand what he's done. So he seems to sound normal. But that quickly goes away with the next thing he says.
I remember when I threw a microwave oven at Dexter Carter.
What?
You know? And then jacked him up against a Coke machine. And, you know, I ripped off his gold chain. And
the reason that he threw the microwave?
We had an old microwave that literally took like 2 minutes to heat a sandwich. Yeah. But if you put another one in there, it took like 20. And he tried to add his sandwich to mine. How dare he do that?
Dexter, what are you doing?
You don't do that.
Dude, I think he's a little bit unhinged. To be honest, to play in the NFL, like to subject yourself, obviously you're doing it for the money too, but to subject yourself to that kind of, we'll call it physical play, you've got to have something going on up there. So, yeah, I mean, kind of to be expected, but yeah, I think he's definitely one of the more interesting characters, shall we say.
This last incident is truly the cherry on top of this man's career. You would think a lot of his problems came from roid rage. In fact, he didn't start taking steroids until 2001. His first 13 years in the league, that was all him. Now imagine how crazy he was, plus the roid rage. This is the result of that. During training camp in 2003, a fight between Marcus Williams and Bill Romanowski sent shockwaves throughout the league. Here's what happened. Williams blocked Romanowski. Romanowski grabbed Williams by the neck of his jersey. Williams disengaged, and then he raised his arms as if to say, it's over. But it wasn't. Romanowski stepped towards Williams and grabbed his face mask. Williams grabbed back before quickly letting go. but Romanowski continued pushing on Williams' helmet.
Why aren't where's the other teammates? Separate.
So violently that his head jerked back. As Williams' helmet flew off and his head recoiled forward, Romanowski's right fist smashed into his face. The 6'4", 250-pound Williams fell onto the ground unconscious. Man. His left eye socket shattered.
You gotta get rid of him,
chipped.
Man.
He came to within seconds, felt blood on his cheek, and saw Romanowski standing over him, shouting, "Don't ever effing hold me." This was Williams' face after the incident. That punch resulted in a broken eye socket, concussion, double vision, depression, and memory issues. This also ended his career, and he
ended his career? No. You gotta get rid of him. Great player or not, at that point, he's a danger to the squad. You've just lost an asset now.
Eventually sued Romanowski for battery, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Ultimately, in the end, he won the case. Call him crazy, a psycho, or if you're old school, a hard-nosed football player. Whatever you want to call him. At the end of the day, Bill Romanowski is one of the last people you'd ever want to run into when he's pissed off.
McNair fakes the throw. Romanowski on the blitz, and he just about killed Holcomb. Holy cow, he just ran right over him.
Look at Big Bill. Oh, yeah, that's me. I hit him.
Woo! This guy, man. What an animal. Man, that guy, he definitely has a screw loose upstairs. I mean, initially I was thinking, yeah, he's a little bit nuts, but, great asset for the team. But I'm sorry, when you start rendering your own teammates unconscious or, tackling your best player, one of arguably the best players in NFL history that's on your team at full strength in practice, I'm sorry, you become more of a liability than an asset at that point. Let's read one of the top comments. Bill's genuinely a nice guy. One day I was 45 minutes late delivering his roids. He only destroyed one of my kneecaps. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.